There's nothing quite like the knot you get in your stomach when you have unexpected visitors stop by. You start to push the clutter into piles and shove things into a drawer, and maybe you apologize for the mess. But the truth is, you don't have to dread having company over more. You don't need to stress about clutter or a mess. Today, we're going to dig into how you can put the joy back into having loved ones and friends and family stop by your house. Hey, I'm Katie Wells, declutter expert and host of the top-rated podcast, The Maximize Minimalist. And my favorite thing in the world is helping families just like yours simplify their lives and declutter their homes. But it wasn't always this way. See, several years ago, I was drowning in clutter because I wasn't born organized, and I had an experience I will never forget. A new colleague of mine dropped by my house completely unannounced, and this was after I had my first son. She was excitedly stopping by to see the baby, as many people do during that time. But everyone else gave me a heads up or asked she just stop by. And as I saw her pull up to my driveway, I panicked. I actually considered shutting the lights off and pretending I wasn't home, because all I could see as I saw her pull up was the stuff and the clutter and the miles and the baby gear and the bottles and everything. And I was like, no, this cannot be happening right now. In fact, I think people dropping by unannounced, if you struggle with clutter, has to be like a top 10 fear, like right up there with spiders and public speaking. But instead of pretending not to be home, I decided to open the door and greet her with a smile on, all while shoving as much as I could in about 30 seconds into drawers and closets. And I'll never forget the intense feeling as she walked into my house, excited to see me and greet my new baby boy, of the utter shame. And all I could see was the mess and the piles. And I thought, oh my gosh, she must be harshly judging me right now and thinking I'm a slob and that I can't believe Katie lives this way. Now, while we did have a great visit and I tried to ignore that voice in the back of my head that was telling me I was such a failure at life, this is someone I saw on a day-to-day basis for months. I worked with this person, and every time I saw her at the office, I was like, oh my gosh, she must think I'm a terrible person and that, again, I'm a slob. And one day I decided I'm just going to confront her about this because I felt so uncomfortable about it. And she told me 4 life-changing words. She said, I didn't even notice. And I was like, what? You didn't notice the piles? You didn't notice the baby gear? You didn't notice all the stuff? This was shocking to me because I spent the last few months painstakingly being worried about how she was continuing to judge and criticize me for my home on that day she stopped by. I spent so much energy and it's like the worst feeling ever. And then I was like, why didn't she notice, right? This all consumed me, but she didn't notice. Why is that? Well, we're going to talk more about that. But this is actually a psychological phenomenon called the spotlight effect. I want to talk about this briefly because it's so important. So the spotlight effect refers to the fact that people considerably overestimate how much attention others are paying to them. Being the center of our own world, our own actions and world looms quite large in our perception. But the spotlight effect reminds us we do not loom quite as large in the eyes of others. In other words, every single person is thinking about themselves. We're not worried. We're not thinking about someone else's home. We're not going into their home with a magnifying glass and a white glove and dragging our finger on their baseboards. We're thinking about ourselves, our to-do list. Do I have salad in my teeth? Does my breath stink like garlic? These are the things that we're all thinking about. And these are the things she was thinking about when she was at my house, not analyzing and judging me harshly for my clutter and mess problem. And I wanted to bring this up because this alone should help you kind of just relax a little bit, right? Like whether you're out in public and worried about what people think of you, or someone's coming into your home unannounced, relax, rest easy, knowing that at the end of the day, we're all doing what humans do. We're thinking about ourselves, and they're coming to spend time and connect with you and see the baby or hang out. They're not coming over to inspect. I also think it's worth wondering, why do we feel so judged and criticized to begin with? Because that's the root of it, right? And I think for a lot of us, depending on where you grew up, it's culture. Culture feeds us these images of perfection, perfect homes, and so many other parts of culture. And we constantly compare ourselves, and all we see is our failures and shortcomings compared to Pinterest perfect or your favorite professional organizer on YouTube or Instagram. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've coached thousands and thousands of women and families. And a common thread I also hear for why women specifically, and anyone really, can feel so much shame and judgment around clutter and mess is because of how their primary caregiver, typically a mom, but not always, really dealt with stuff. So for example, if you were raised by a parent who had very high expectations and like you lived in a museum and nothing could be out of place, and maybe they had a lot of systems and routines and different priorities in their life, and one of them being a spotless home, and now you're an adult, you're living on your own, and you're struggling with clutter and mess, there's a big chance that you likely feel shame because you aren't that parent and you can't or haven't been able to get what you need done so you can meet that type of expectation. And it's in that space where a lot of that shame comes up. Brené Brown says this: shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of change. Again, when it comes to shame, specifically being rooted in clutter and mess, we have to step out of that so that we can start to look for more tangible, practical solutions instead of staying rooted in it. Because we don't want to stay rooted in shame. It keeps us stuck in action. It keeps us thinking, what's the point? I can't do it anyway, or I'm a failure, and all the things that we start to believe. So ask yourself, how can I better help the situation? Maybe you incorporate my 25 to Thrive routine, which I talk more about in this video right here, or you decide you need some more family routines, which I talk about in this video here. The sky's the limit, but we need to start doing things differently that will help move the needle forward and get your trajectory going in the right direction. And it can be really slow, small, incremental steps. And in fact, it's often better if we start slow and small anyway, because those habits and routines are going to be able to stick for the long haul. And speaking of sticking to the long haul, let's talk about habits. What are some habits that you can begin to do today? What's one next small action step that's going to help you make progress and gain momentum? And what beliefs do I need to squash in order to step out of the shame and into doing things differently so I can finally make progress? I will honestly say, if you look around your house and see clutter and mess as a form of inadequacy and a reflection of how you are doing as a human, you have to let go of that because it's simply not the truth. Again, kind of the narrative that a lot of culture drives into us, but that's not your reality. And here's the thing, it is your home. You get to choose what level of cleanliness or mess or clutter is acceptable to keep it functioning well. Going back to that comparison piece I mentioned earlier. So as you are using different solutions, systems, habits, routines, knocking out these myths and beliefs that simply aren't true and are keeping you stuck, you might be tempted to hop on social, maybe go find a professional organizer, or hop on Pinterest to look at some inspiring after photos. But if you tend to compare your home and where you are now to that, you are only going to be more reinforced in that shame mentality. So don't do it. Instead, do the things we've been talking about so far. Robert Brault says this: we labor to make a house a home. Then every time we're expecting visitors, we rush to turn it back into a house. Why? Why do we do this? Again, a big part of it is culture. And here's what I have to say to that. Can we please normalize mess? Mess is a completely normal part of life, and you don't have to hide your mess in order to be accepted and loved by your loved ones who are stopping by to visit you. So the more you leave your regular mess out, and heck, even your clutter, the more you normalize it for other people. And it's just a beautiful thing, okay? The tidiness of your home is not a reflection of how you are doing as a human being. As we move into a busier season, it's so important to let go of that shame around mess and clutter and normalize it, right? And remember that visitors are coming to see you, not judge you. But that doesn't mean you have to learn to live with your clutter and the stress and anxiety and the overwhelm that clutter so often brings. I would love to invite you to my free brand new masterclass, How to Reclaim Your Home from Clutter in 3 Easy Steps, even if you've tried everything. In this free masterclass, you'll learn my game-changing strategy to use right now to see immediate results and keep your momentum going, no matter how busy you are or how family your messy is. You'll learn exact strategies my students use to declutter their entire homes without quitting their job or wasting entire weekends. You're going to learn why trendy organization and conventional declutter strategies will continue to fail you and what you should do instead, and how trying to find the perfect declutter plan is distracting you from the permanent fix, which will get you better results 10 times faster. Join me live Wednesday, December 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Still sign up if you can't join live, and I will make sure to send you the replay. To sign up for this free masterclass, go ahead and click the link below, and I hope to see you there.